Ladies and gentlemen, the nominations for the 5th Annual Deathies will begin in 4 minutes. First, here is a recap of our Oscar-nominated categories. Here to present the nominees for the 5th Annual Deathies, please welcome Jeff Bulmer and Dakota Arsenault.
Hello, and welcome to the 5th year of the Academy of Death Racers Awards, the Deathies, as we call them. Dakota, how does it feel to have been involved for 5 full years?
It's pretty crazy. I can't believe the amount of growth this community has had over these last 5 years. There's a lot of original people still here that have been here every year with us, but every year this community grows and grows, and it honestly just impresses and amazes me how many people want to be involved and care about the Deathies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I haven't gotten it finished yet, so no one will have seen it yet, but I'm working on sort of a 5-year review video, and it's cool, the people that have been here since the very beginning, some of whom have presented the same thing every year, which, by the way, is a good thing. And also just the people who've come and gone. We've had some people only give one presentation but immediately be the standout of that year. So I'm excited to see what we get this year, because I already know a couple of things in the works, and I'm very excited to actually see it happen.
Yeah, I'm really excited too. The Deathies are obviously the highlight of the calendar year for us in this community. It happens a day before some other ceremony, but like I don't know if people care as much about that. The Deathies is my event of the year.
Mine too. The other, I sort of take a day after that. Like I'll have some friends over, and there's usually some stuff on TV, but like it's just sort of winding down at that point, which is really
Exactly. It's really the end of award season, frankly.
nice. So I guess what's really interesting is, as we go through, and we probably are not going to talk about, we're probably going to focus today on 6 categories specifically. But as we go through, maybe we can give some of our thoughts on important precursors and who we think might win some of these categories, or potentially some of the other categories that we're not going to go into as much detail on.
Love it.
So before we get started, I want to talk very briefly about the categories we are going to go through. These are the Academy of Death Racers specific branches. So you'll see them as they come up. Basically, our rules are that everything that's nominated, these nominees are going to be voted on by members of our community within their branches. Each branch had a long list. They all had slightly different voting processes, some of which were very fun to watch behind the scenes. But all of them voted on a long list to turn it into a short list, to turn it into a group of nominees, which we're going to read off here. One thing that you may notice as we go through these, most of these nominees will be nominated either at the Academy Awards, the BAFTAs, or the Independent Spirit Awards, because there is a rule that for each category, there can be a maximum of 2 movies that are not nominated in one of those 3 award ceremonies. The reason for that, a lot of the people, obviously the whole community exists to watch all of the Oscar-nominated movies. Many of us also watch all the BAFTA-nominated movies, all the Independent Spirit-nominated movies. But we do try to make sure that even though some of us watch way more movies than that, probably most of us watch way more movies than that, we don't want to we don't want people, if someone wants to death race the Deathies, we don't want to add 25 or 30 new movies onto that. Although, I could theoretically, if someone wanted to know, I could share the long lists, and someone who is insane could go through the 60 movie long list the indie branch had.
There's like 2 or 3 absolutely insane death racers in the community that absolutely would. So please do not give them more homework than they need.
I'm not going to do that unprompted. I'm just saying, if those people do want to reach out to me, I'm happy to share that information.
Yes, of course.
So without further ado, I think we're going to go through our categories here and talk about our nominees. I'm very excited for our first category. Famously, one of my favorite branches, I guess all of these are of my favorite branches, but I really do like this one. The first nominee, the first branch of the Academy of Death Racers that we're going to talk about is the Kino branch. The Kino branch nominates the best Kino film, which is a definition that we've had, I think, 3 or 4 different segments trying to define. And, I think you just kind of, it's one of those things you just kind of feel it in your heart. So with that context, hopefully this will give you an idea of what you should feel in your heart. Here are the nominees for Best Kino Film. Agro Drift, Judd Allison, Ron Eli Cohen, Olivier Goriat, producers. Better Man, Paul Curry, Michael Gracie, Coco Jalou-Ma, Craig McMahon, Jules Daly, producers. Gladiator 2, Ridley Scott, Michael Pruss, Douglas Wick, Lucy Fisher, David Franzoni, producers. Madam Web, Lorenzo di Bonaventura, producer. And The Substance, Coralie Farget, Jérôme Eltabet, and Valentine Ferron, producers. What do you think of our first crop of nominees, Dakota?
Honestly, I'm a little surprised to see the substance here. I didn't expect that, but good on them. This is a category that is defined by family, and I think of the substance as family. My other favorite anecdote is in regards to Aggro Drift, is that they did a road show of the movie in strip clubs. So maybe you caught it at your local strip club if you didn't see it at a festival.
If you did, that's awesome. Honestly, I heard they were going to do that, and I was like, well, they're not coming to any local strip clubs, but that would be the ideal way to see that movie.
Really happy about Better Man and Gladiator 2, two movies I genuinely really liked. I haven't seen Madam Web yet. I know you wrote a great review of Madam Web that I enjoyed reading, probably more so than I'd actually enjoy watching.
I do personally believe that that is one of my best reviews. So, if anyone wants to go seek that out, it's there. And I love that movie, and I hope that in my review it communicates why I love that movie for all its flaws, and despite all its flaws. Maybe because of all its flaws, actually.
We love a flawed queen.
All right. Well, Dakota, if you'd like to take us off to the next branch.
Sure. The next branch we've got is the indie branch, which the award is the 2 indie for the Oscars, which the criteria for that is, pretty much right there in the title. If a movie did not get nominated at the Oscars in any category, that means no VFX, no score, no acting nominations, it is eligible for the indie branch. Basically, because as we all do when the Oscar nominations come out, the first thing we say is, how come this didn't get nominated? Where was this movie? How come that's not there? And the indie branch likes to correct that. And so I love what they do. And so here are the nominees. Challengers: Amy Pascal, Luca Guadagnino, Zendaya, Rachel O'Connor. Producers: Ghostlight: Ian Kaiser, Alex Thompson, Pierce Cravens, Eddie Linker, Chelsea Krant. Producers: Hundreds of Beavers: Kurt Ravenwood, Matt Sabjak, Raylan Tews, Sam Hogerton. Producers: Kneecap: Jack Tarling, Trevor Burney. Producers: The People's Joker, Joey Lyons. Producer. This is an incredible crop of films. What are your first reactions to hearing them?
Yeah, I saw this group and I thought this is fantastic. I can do nothing but echo your statement that this is an incredible crop of films. I think it's really great to see The People's Joker doing well. It has been having an incredible run, even including at awards ceremonies over the last couple of months, and hopefully it wins the big one. I guess maybe I shouldn't be too biased there, but it could win this one. That would be a really cool thing.
We don't vote on this category, so we can, say our favorites, I guess.
Well, eventually we will all vote on this category.
True, that's right. That is right. My apologies. So, I think there's two movies in particular, Challengers and Kneecap. I think they were both expected to get nominations at the Oscars. And so I think this is really the indie branch sort of correcting the mistake of those two not making it. And then on the flip side, you've got Ghostlight, Hundreds of Beavers, and The People's Joker, which I think even its most ardent fans of those films would agree that it probably wasn't going to get into the Oscars anyways. And so it's nice to kind of see this mix of films that we wish the Academy would have nominated and films that had a legitimate shot that missed out at getting nominated.
And I guess just to kind of tease one upcoming category, I don't know if they made it in, but I know that I'm pretty active on Twitter, and Hundreds of Beavers also is very active on Twitter. They've been running a fantastic grassroots campaign, including road shows, like an unholy number of custom posters, all with beavers. They're very much sort of they're doing a very good grassroots campaign, and I think a lot of people, I don't know if anyone seriously expected them to appear at the Oscars or any of the bigger award shows, but I know that many people were very disappointed they didn't, whether that was expected or not.
My favorite thing is, a lot of movies will release steelbook editions as physical media. They have released a woodbox edition of the movie.
And I need to see if there's still any available. I think they sold out very fast, but I know that they did a
big collector's
few.
item.
Yeah. Well, on to the next one. The next one is kind of fun because the next category is going to be the first category we're talking about where a specific part of the movie is nominated. Not the movie itself, but a specific scene of the movie. The next category is the best food and drink scene, which is nominated by the food and drink branch. This is, again, pretty self-explanatory. A scene containing food or drink. Although, last year, the winner was not really a food or drink scene. It was kind of a food or drink. It was a borderline. I don't know if you remember last year, Saltburn won for bathwater.
I was a little disappointed, I'll say, in that being the winner, just because of how gross of a scene it was. And I remember Pierre being pretty aghast too.
I do remember that. I gotta go back and find that clip. Maybe people will see that clip in the 5-year retrospective. Anyway, here are our nominees for best food and drink scene. Bowl of milk on the floor crawl from Baby Girl. Sharing a churro from Challengers. Cherry Coke spill kitchen disaster from La Cocina. Blueberry pie from Heretic. And Dennis Quaid's shrimp salad from The Substance. What are your initial thoughts, Dakota?
Food and drink branch, why are you so unhinged? Who hurt you as a child? Oh my god.
I think this is Dennis Quaid's to lose. I think that's it's a very disgusting scene, but I think I remember it better than any other scene in a movie this year, period.
Yeah, I wasn't sure. I knew a Substance scene was going to get nominated here. I wasn't sure if it was going to be the shrimp or if it was going to be the chicken. It could have gone either way, but I think the shrimp is sort of probably the grossest moment in that entire film of body horror.
Yeah, it's impressive for the grossest, most horrific scene in a body horror movie to be technically kind of normal. Like it's someone eating food in a really gross way. Mm-hmm. Which, again, as you pointed out, does happen a few times, actually.
Yeah.
The chicken would have been... I'm sure the chicken was long listed.
It probably was, yeah. What do you feel about the inclusion of the blueberry pie from Heretic? Because, spoiler alert, I don't know, it's in the trailer. There is no pie.
Have you seen the movie?
Of course I have.
Because there is a pie.
Is there? Is it later in the movie?
Later on in the movie, there is a pie.
It's been a while since I've seen it. I figured it was the candle they're talking about.
I think it might be, but also what's interesting about that, I was pointing out that that this is we nominate a specific scene. Heretic, the blueberry pie, that's a recurring bit. Mm-hmm. Of all of these, that's probably the most recurring bit. Mm-hmm. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, yeah, you're right. It is a recurring bit compared to all the others where it's a single moment.
Or, well, almost a single moment. I don't know if you've seen La Cocina.
I have not.
Cherry Coke spill kitchen disaster is something that it's first implied that something is going to happen about 10 minutes in, and then the payoff is at about an hour where during the most hectic... It's a kitchen movie. It's during the hectic lunch rush where everyone is losing their mind. The kitchen is also flooding with Cherry Coke.
Okay.
It's a very tense scene. It's easily my favorite scene of the movie, and clearly it's a couple of other people's favorite scene in the movie because it got nominated here.
Yes, I'm going to throw my weight behind the sharing a churro scene. It's got competition between Baby Girl, of which is the hornier of the two scenes, but I'm quite a fan of that moment.
That's a good one too. I think I know we're only three categories in, but I think that Challengers and The Substance are going to come away very well from this crop of nominees.
Yes. Shall we move on to the next category?
Are you ready for the next category?
Well, let's see what it is. Next up, we've got the Best Animal Performance from the Animal Lovers Branch, which is also known as the Johnny Award. Now, if people don't know why it's called the Johnny Award, it's because I believe it was during the first Deathies year, there was a film, Les Miserables, which was nominated for Best International Film. That was a very difficult film for a lot of people to watch. And in the movie, there is a lion that is kidnapped, if I'm remembering it correctly, and this lion's name is Johnny. And so Johnny has become the unofficial mascot of the Academy of Death Racers and the Deathies. That is what our trophy looks like. It's basically an Oscar with Johnny's head on it.
Yeah, I couldn't have said it better myself.
Thank you. And so the nominees this year for the Johnny Award is Frodo the Cat, played by Nico and Schnitzel the Cats in A Quiet Place Day One. Cat, voiced by Muit the Cat in Flow. Capybara, voiced by a baby camel from Flow. Hundreds of Beavers. Oh my gosh, you're going to make me read all of this out, aren't you?
Oh, yeah.
Performed by Jay Brown, Steven Cervantes, Mike Cheslick, Ryan Fox, Maurice Gross, Mike Hopt, Max Hay, Chris Holter, Jason Horniker, Josh Horn, Jessica Knapp, Jerry Kruick, Daniel Long, Tyrese Pope III, Louis R. Schultz, Brandon Steer, James Stoffel, John Truey, Tyler Walker, Mike Weslowski, Eric West, and Tobias Christian Wong. Hundreds of Beavers. That wasn't quite 100 names, but very close to it.
Well, I'd assume that everyone performs one or two of them.
I guess so. Yeah, they're allowed to double up, I guess. Fink the Fox, voiced by Pedro Pascal, the wild robot. So here we go, the 5 nominees. It threw me off at first, Frodo the Cat, because Frodo is also the name of the dog in Porcelain War. So I saw Frodo, and that's what I thought it was. I was like, A Quiet Place Day One. I haven't seen A Quiet Place Day One, so I can't comment on that one. But what are your thoughts on these nominees?
I love these nominees. I think, I could be wrong, someone in the animal branch can correct me, but I think this might be the first time any cat has gotten onto the list of nominees, and we've got 2, which I know a lot of people in the animal branch were repeatedly upset about that year over year. Just no cat once again. And now we've got 2 cats. And actually, I think that this is the cat from Flo's year. I think this is his award to lose. I think that might be our front runner.
Interesting. Yeah, I'd love to see someone like Paul or someone else maybe give us a deep dive on the statistics. What kind of animals normally get nominated, domesticated versus wild animals, things like that. I'd love to sort of see a breakdown of how the nominees have gone, how the voting branch usually goes, because maybe that might give some insight on who usually wins. Mm-hmm. But yeah, that's very interesting. And we also have 2 nominees from Flow. How do you feel about a movie being represented twice in the same category here?
It's interesting. I don't know that that's happened before for us, especially because a lot of our categories don't really support multiple nominees from the same film. Mm-hmm. So this may actually, I'm not sure, this may be the first time that's happened too. A lot of unprecedented territory in this group of nominees here. Also, I don't know if you caught this, the director of the movie Velocipaster is up for a Deathy. And he's up for Best Animal Performance because that director is Brendan Steer, who was at least one of the beavers in Hundreds of Beavers.
I've never seen Velocipaster. I know that's probably a shock for you to hear that.
It's not a shock for me to hear you haven't seen it.
Let's look at the movies behind me and see if Velocipaster is up there. No, but I'm very happy. That's very exciting. Congrats. Maybe, is it possible that we can get Hundreds of Beavers some sort of appearance at the Deathies? I don't know. They're very active. Would they not want an extra trophy in their cabinet?
Anything's possible.
Yeah.
So, if the people behind Hundreds of Beavers are hearing this, hit us up.
Yeah.
Appear in our show, please.
All right. What do we got next?
Next up. Oh, this is a fun one. This is the branch that you and I are a part of. So we actually already know these nominees.
I'm going to pretend to be surprised, though.
Please do be surprised.
Okay.
I think these are going to be pretty surprising, actually. So, this is the creators branch. The members of the creators branch are YouTubers, podcasters, musicians. We have plenty of journalists, or at least we had journalists. I think we still do. They're basically anyone who is who, for a living, or in some major form, is in a creative profession. And the creators branch nominates the biggest, or awards the biggest cow award, which is, vulgarly, the movie that can be milked for the best or most content. So all of these nominees are going to be nominated not necessarily on the merits of the movie, but on the merits of the secondary content that was produced around the movie. I'm sure that as I read these off, if you go and search any of them on YouTube, you will find very interesting video essays on all of them. I know that I have done, just looking at this, I have a podcast episode on 4 of the 5 of these. And of those episodes, they were all very good, I thought, on my particular podcast. Now, I didn't nominate based on what I thought my best podcasts were, but I will tell you that if you search for these on Classic Movies Live, you will find nothing but good episodes. I don't know, I haven't read them off yet, but I'm sure that you have also covered probably most of these in some form or another on your podcast because, well, these are the movies that everyone was talking about. So without further ado, here are the nominees for Biggest Cow. Challengers. Nominees to be determined. Emilia Perez. Nominees to be determined. Megalopolis. Nominees to be determined. The Substance. Nominees to be determined. And Wicked. Nominees to be determined.
Are we going for the meme here of nominees to be determined?
A little behind the scenes, not at first, but then once I started doing it, I thought, no, well, let's do it. What I was thinking is, does it make sense in these to nominate the producers? Because are the producers the people that were being talked about? For example, Emilia Perez. Were we talking about the producers of that movie? Or were we talking about Carla Sofia Gascon and Jacques Audiard's last-minute campaign for the Biggest Cow?
You know what? Going through these, like, challengers, the horniness was probably the thing most talked about.
Mm-hmm.
Emilia Perez, Gascon and ODR. Megalopolis, it's Francis Ford Coppola self-financing. The Substance, the body horror. I don't know what would be considered the main nominee.
Mm-hmm.
Wicked, Cynthia Erivo and Ariana Grande holding each other by the fingers.
Well, holding space.
Oh, the holding space. Yes, we're holding space for Defying Gravity here. Yes, of course.
So a little look behind the scenes of how we vote on this one, or at least what happens with our long list. Like most of the branches can just people can just suggest for the long list. In the creators branch, people suggesting for the long list are encouraged to also give some example of secondary content. So, for example, I know that one thing that was in our spreadsheet next to Wicked was a YouTube video that was a review of the movie and how it adapts the book. So, was that that wasn't the only video there. I'm not even necessarily going to say it was the best. There were lots of videos right next to it, but it's always, everyone is encouraged to vote not based on just the movie or just the drama, but on everything around it. So that this is not just a drama award. It is sort of an award for, what made people think in the most interesting way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I guess to provide even more sort of backstory, I won't reveal the names, but, there was one movie that was clearly the front runner. Then everything else, we were trying to figure out what the rest of the crop of our nominees are. And it'll be interesting to sort of see if voting, the wider membership voting sort of agrees with what our internal branch was voting on as well. So that's going to be very interesting to see. I also feel like there was a lot more consideration to round out, the final couple nominees in this group. So I think some people might be like, where's this one? Where's this one?
Yeah, actually, one funny thing that happened the day before voting closed, we had one slam dunk nominee, was 100% going to make it in, and a 6-way tie for second. And then we tried to do a tiebreaker vote, which immediately tied.
Yep.
And then, thankfully, by the end of the day, we had a few extra votes that came in and settled that tie. Do you know what the slam dunk nominee was? I don't know if you do.
I believe I do, based on what was in the runoff vote.
Oh yeah, fair enough.
But
What
yeah,
do you think it was?
should I say it?
Yeah, say it.
Yeah. It's Challengers, right?
No, it was Megalopolis.
It's Megalopolis. Okay.
Megalopolis was the one that was definitely in, and
Okay.
then everything else was a two-way tie, or it was
Yeah.
a six-way tie for second.
Which, honestly, I'm surprised that the runaway wasn't Amelia Perez. That's what I thought it was when I submitted my vote.
Yeah.
But maybe people are just so sick of talking about it, they don't even want it to be considered.
Well, and I mean that's why I encourage. That's why we do encourage this award to not be the drama award. It's
Yes.
not just about what are you sick of talking about. It's like what would you actually like to keep talking about. Not exclusively. Everyone can see this award slightly differently, but that's how I see it.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Shall we move on to our final award?
Oh my gosh, we are all the way at the end. Yes.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Dakota.
Okay, so the last one that we have is from the Queer Branch, which I love this. What crop of nominees that the Queer Branch comes up with every year. They're always excellent choices. So this is for the best LGBTQ plus film, which is also known as I always say this differently every year, especially in my narration video. The Queer Palm DAOR, a Queer Palm d'Ador. I don't know exactly how they want me to say it, and I've asked a few times and I've never gotten a concise answer. So I'm going to continue to change the way I say it every time.
I think it's funnier if you never find out.
It changes. But here are the nominees. Challengers: Amy Pascal, Luca Guadagnino, Zendaya, Rachel O'Connor. Producers: Femme: Miles Payne, Sam Ritzenberg. Producers: I Saw the TV Glow, Sam Intilli, Sarah Winshaw, Emma Stone, Dave McCary. Producers: Memoir of a Snail, Liz Kearney, Adam Elliott. Producers: National Anthem, Mikey Lindell, Pete Shelamon, Kevin Garland, Gina Marcheski, Jasmine Deghihin. I am so sorry. Producers. Well, those are. I apologize. This is the first time I'm seeing some of these names, so I have not had time to practice them. Wow. Okay, this is a very interesting crop of nominees. There's two films I'm not even familiar with. I have not heard of Femme or National Anthem, so I definitely need to do a bit of homework to vote on this category. But I love seeing Challengers. I Saw the TV Glow, and Memoir of a Snail, I think, is a sneaky good addition to this group.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love this category. Every year, this is, I think, an extremely strong group of nominees. This year is no different. I've made no secret of the fact that I love Challengers, but it's also, probably the fourth time we've said it here. So congratulations to Challengers getting so much attention here. But Femme is one I was really excited to see here because this is one I was aware of because in last year, maybe 2 years ago, there was a short nominated for Best British Short at the BAFTAs called Femme, which starred, among other people, George McKay. And that was very shortly after that was nominated at the BAFTAs. It was a film version was greenlit. And this is the film version, starring the same people from the short, including George McKay. So this is one I'm very excited to see. I have not seen it yet, but it's one that I do think came out over here in select, very small theaters, but didn't really make a very loud splash, but is one that is definitely, I've definitely been interested in it, and I am glad that the Queer Branch has recommended it as one of their nominees.
I mean, they have impeccable taste in this branch. I've never seen a bad movie nominated in all of the 5 years that they've been nominating a film. So kudos to them selecting great films. I think it's no surprise Challengers and I Saw the TV Glow are clearly the two frontrunners, I think, especially once voting to the wider community goes live. I think those are probably it's going to come down to one of those two. So it's going to be very interesting to see which one ends up winning.
But I do think that Memoir of a Snail, you mentioned it's kind of a sneaky good nomination here. I think that to use your grading system that you use on your podcast, you've got your front runner, you got your dark horse. I think that Memoir of a Snail could maybe be a long shot, maybe even a dark horse, because I think that the only thing holding back I Saw the TV Glow and Challengers is that neither of those is currently nominated for an Oscar. And Memoir of a Snail is, which means that by the time we get to the voting, the one that most people will have seen is probably going to be Memoir of a Snail, which, not insignificant in these ballots.
Yes. I think it is no surprise at all that there's a certain movie that didn't get nominated here, which I think a lot of people will be happy about.
I was about to ask, and I think we don't even need to clarify, actually. I think if you give that a little bit of thought, it's pretty clear what that probably is. I'm curious if it made the long list, because obviously for a lot of times the long list is just what movies do people say. I'm curious if it was even there.
Yeah. I am curious to sort of see what other movies they considered. I wish I had a list in front of me of movies that I would have considered nominating if I was a member of this branch. Unfortunately, as a cis straight man, I cannot be a member of the queer branch, but I am a fantastic supporter of the movies that they select.
And as you said, they've never nominated a bad movie, so I'm going to watch them. Technically, I can't say that they've never nominated a bad movie even this year if one of the movies I haven't seen. But their recommendations are very strong, so I expect nothing but the best.
Yeah.
So that's all our nominees. What do you think of this year's nominees at the Deathies?
As always, it's a terrific crop. I've seen most of every category, but every category I've got 1 to 2 movies I haven't seen. So I do have some homework to do that I'm very much excited to see. I think, specifically in the creators branch, the only one I hadn't seen was Megalopolis. So I finally have to make time for that one. That was one where I was like, is it going to get nominated for an Oscar for maybe visual effects or something? I don't know. I'll wait to see and watch it then. And it didn't, obviously. So now I have a reason to actually sit down with it. So I'm very excited for that. And then, just looking at the other nominees, Femme and National Anthem, looking forward to watching that. A Quiet Place Day 1, I don't know if I'm going to have time to watch that because I haven't seen A Quiet Place Part 2. So I feel like I need to watch 2 movies to catch up with that.
I mean, you don't really, but I get the impulse.
Yeah. I really love the indie branches crop. They're always great. I feel like if I couldn't be in the creators branch, I would be in the indie branch, and chef's kiss for their nominees this year.
I think the thing that I'm especially pleased with is the sort of the synergy, I guess, between the animal branch and the Kino branch this year, because there were a lot of fantastic monkeys in movies this year. We had Robbie Williams in Better Man. We had a lot of baboons in Gladiator 2, both of whom are nominated in the Kino branch. And meanwhile, that means that they don't have to take places away. They don't have to take spots away from the cats, who are so rightfully nominated this year in the animal branch. And potentially, I seriously do think that Cat from Flow is going to be our front runner. I don't necessarily know that that's going to be our winner, but I do think that that's going to be our front runner going in. I think it's his to lose.
I'm not too sure. Yeah, it's so tough to tell how some of these categories are going to go in terms of voting demographics. So it's going to be really curious to see who ends up taking the Deathies for each of these. I'm excited.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and with that, I guess we should say when the Deathies are. The Deathies are going to be streamed live on our YouTube channel. There will be a link as soon as we're able to share it. It will be on March 1st, which is a Saturday, at 6 p.m. EST, 3 p.m. PST. I believe that's 11 p.m. GMT. So if you're in London, and I know that a lot of people who are going to be watching this video will be, 11 p.m. your time.
Yeah, and if you happen to live in Hawaii or a place like that, figure out your own time zone.
I believe it would be 2 p.m. I could be wrong, but I believe it's 2 p.m.
Yes, any secret Hawaiians in our midst.
Any secret Hawaiians.
And I guess one other thing to say is this year I'm joining you in hosting.
Yes, I'll be seeing you there we're going to be the hosts. We're doing the nomination video, and we're going to be back with a lot more costumes. A little behind the scenes, I just had a photo shoot with like 5 different costumes. I'm ready to go.
Yeah, I got to figure out some ideas for that. I've got a couple things percolating in my head, but I'm really excited. You and I have already shared some ideas, and I always love to see what everyone brings because there's some people who like you see them pop up in the server once in a while, and then they like do the most crazy over the top video. I'm like, you have this personality. We need to see more of this.
Mm-hmm. And I've heard a little bit of behind the scenes of what of what people are working on, and I'm sure I haven't heard even all the most exciting stuff yet. But the few things that I have seen or heard already make me very excited.
Excellent.
We actually have one segment already submitted, and it's very good.
Ooh, okay, okay. Very excited to see that.
Well, with that, I've been Jeff Bulmer,
I'm Dakota Arsenault.
and we will see you again on March 1st.